What's up, guys? Welcome back to AniPeeps, place for all things anime and manga. I am your host, Mighty Mo, and today I will be talking about a new manga I've started reading called Yowamushi Roro, translating to Weakling Roro. This is a historical adventure manga that takes place in Norway during the 1880s when Vikings were very prevalent. Our protagonist, Roro, is the younger son of the ruler of Giski Island on the west coast of Norway. Roro is not your typical Viking, being a lot smaller in stature and quite feminine looking. Roro has never taken to the lifestyle of being a Viking, but on the contrary, his older brother, Iburu, is the epitome of a Viking, um, being very well renowned in the region for his strength. Um, but despite his status, he's always been a caring and understanding older brother towards Roro and how Roro feels about being a Viking, always telling him about how much he's a kind-hearted person. The other character that's fairly important to this story that I wanted to introduce beforehand is Hirudo. She's kind of evil's right-hand man, woman, I should say. She's an absolute beast of a woman, being stronger than most men and beautiful than most women. So she's often looked down because of her gender, but by the unassuming, all of her crewmates know that she's among the strongest, really only second to Ibura. But so that's pretty much kind of a quick little summary and little character introduction. In terms of the plot, story begins by us getting introduced to Roro, who's kind of doing what he does best, caring for others, and in this case, it's a sheep. He's just bandaging up a little boo boo that the sheep got, waiting for his brother to return from their Viking. And so they do at the banquet that night. And there's a guy kind of, everybody's talking up Ibra about how great he is. And then there's another guy that decides to bring up Roro, talking about like, oh, Roro's actually a nickname that comes from his full name, Furovura, but no one really calls him that anymore besides his mother and father, and the name Roro fits much better for a weakling. Later that next day, Iburu confronts Roro about why he didn't get upset about that comment, and Roro just kind of accepts that that's who he is. Iburu tries to convince Roro otherwise, trying to convince him that he is a warrior on the times that he did go on the voyage. You know, he was able to come back unscathed, but Roro's just convinced that all he did was run away and hide from the battle, and so that's the reason he was able to come back from that. He never really believes that he can protect his friends and family, and just kind of wants to be a little farm owner doing his own thing on the side. But Iburu asks him, how can you live without a family, without friends? And that just makes Roro wonder, yeah, for what reason was I born if I have to live by myself? That conversation kind of ends with that, with Roro running away and crying on the hilltop. A bit later in the story, a beach whale washed up on shore, which means that there's some good loot for the Vikings to pick up. Evil and his crew go to secure the whale. Some Dutch also arrive, and a fight ensues between the two groups. In the fight, we can see Hirudo doing her own thing, absolutely destroying some of these guys along Iburu. But during Iburu's fight, he strikes his enemy's sword, the hilt of their sword, just right, causing his sword to snap in half. He manages to kill his enemy, but then he's approached from behind, and in the nick of time, Roro saves him with a shot from his bow, knocking the enemy's sword out of his hand. And so in this moment, we get to see Roro doing actually something super badass and something I did not expect, but he's extremely proficient with the bow. Later on the manga, we see as well him shooting a flying bird out of the sky, only having to take one step to catch the bird falling on the ground. So he's an absolute incredible marksman, which really bodes well for him. But with that shot, he decides that he wants to put his life on the line and live as a Viking looking to change the weakling in himself. And then there's a little 4-month time skip as Ibura and his crew return from their most recent voyage, And as Rolo goes down to greet them, unfortunately, Ibra has come back with some grave injuries that end up resulting in him dying. Obviously, this is tragic news to everybody in the kingdom, and the king actually decides that he wants to end up giving Ivaru's family 2 islands as kind of a gesture of goodwill for him losing for them losing such a great man. Everybody makes some comments like, "Oh wow, I can't believe he's worth 2 people. Um, Look at him go," kind of thing. Um, but now they have 2 more islands that they have to manage, which gets kind of tricky. And along with that, they've kind of lost their leader in Ibra, which now the king has decided that, believing in Roro, he wants Roro to be the next leader of the Viking. From here, Hirudo gets very upset. I think she doesn't really like Roro, especially Roro being so weak. I think she just doesn't believe that he's able to do a good job. But the king is like, well, actually, I think it was his mom, Roro's mom, is like, well, you guys need to go and get along and force them to go fishing together as a little bonding experience. From there, we get to learn about Hirudo's tragic backstory and why she was so devoted to Ibura. It turns out she was a child slave and she was getting abused by some people, and she actually ended up killing the guy. When Iburu saw that, they were mildly worried, but he actually ended up bringing her out to his father and saying like, "This girl is strong. We need to turn her into a warrior," and kind of saved her life. So from there, Doro really looked at Hirudo with a very different point of view, as well as understanding why Hirudo was so loyal to Iburu and that she was actually kind of in love with him too. So him dying really hurt her more than anyone. I guess I mean obviously it hurt Doro, but she was heavily affected because not only did was she their leader, but he also loved her very much as well. So pretty much kind of how the first volume ends with them going off onto their voyage. And then we get a little sneak peek into the kind of tactics that Doro uses, with Doro being the weakling that she is, does try to be smarter than her opponents. Um, so at the end of this volume, we do see them kind of get ambushed, but kind of knowing that they were going to get ambushed, they plan to kind of build a fire and draw the enemy towards that, and then from there, kind of reverse the tides of the fight. So, pretty exciting. I've read up to the second volume. Third volume for me should be coming soon, but pretty interesting to kind of see how Roro really does his best to avoid any amount of violence as much as he can to get things done. Pretty interesting manga. I haven't read too many, historical manga, especially in the realms of Vikings. Vinland Saga is kind of the only manga that I have read in this genre. But if you have read Vinland Saga, this might be something that you enjoy. It's a little bit more lighthearted than Vinland Saga is, but I'm sure as things progress in the manga, we'll start to get a little bit darker themes come up, and harder decisions for Roro to make. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.